We're going to do a brief introduction into Crystal Stairs and external affairs. We'll talk about the agency branding, discussing the logo use, colors, and photo use. We'll briefly touch the style guide. We usually don't have enough time to go in depth, so please, when you have a time, I will be sending an updated email with a PDF version of this PowerPoint. Go back to the style guide and look there for direct style uses and preferred fonts and text. Next, we'll go over to the communications assistance that we offer at External Affairs, and then we'll briefly touch on strategic communications. Without further ado, this is External Affairs. We are mainly three funnels: fundraising, communications, and advocacy and public policy through community voices. We cultivate relationships with corporate funders, foundations, individual donors, philanthropists, right? And we work with them to contribute funds for our services and for our programs. We also do communications, again, promoting consistent agency messages, doing brand awareness, updating the website, social media, sending out emails and such. And then we also increase the awareness of Crystal Stairs through digital and physical means. And lastly, through community voices, we maintain relationships with elected officials. We track legislation as it relates to the ECE workforce, and we implement our community voices workshops, trainings, and legislative visits. So that's basically External Affairs in a nutshell. This is my boss, Ileana Lopez, the External Affairs Director, and then K.O. Johnson helps a lot in our outreach as the Strategic Outreach Coordinator, and my new staff member, Manny Luisi, who's on this call, he supports in our communications work as well. So we'll go into a little bit of the branding here, and I want to share with you a poll. So let's start this up. I'm going to click on polls, and let's see if I can do this over again. I might not be able to, actually. Oh, man. Oh, no. You weren't supposed to see that. I hope that was fast enough. All right, I can't share the poll because I kept the same Zoom meeting. So just briefly look at the logos here, and hopefully you didn't see it. Which of the logos here are approved? There are two that are approved, and just use the chat feature to chime in on what you think is approved. Those of you who were in the all staff business meeting last year should know this, because I did the same test. Give you guys 30 more seconds. Thank you for bearing with me and just using the chat feature to tell me your answers. Awesome, awesome. All right, I'm seeing a lot of votes for B and D and H. We got some F's here. No C's, huh? No one wants to vote for C. What about E? No votes for E? What's wrong with those ones? All right, let's take a look at what it is. All right, so most of you were correct. B and H are the correct logos. E is incorrect and F is incorrect. So let me just walk you through these. First of all, A is stenciled. We don't stencil our logo like this. We have in the past, but we do not anymore. We want the inside of our logo to be solid, solid staircase. So we'll always be inside the logo there. The C, we can tell that the logo has been just slightly smushed together. And with D, it's a different font. You'll notice that stairs is not the same. E, it's the same font, but it's really light. And you'll notice that E, F, and G all share the same font type. Now that's because those were the old logos. We updated our logo about 4 years ago, and the reason behind it was because the imprint area around the lettering was very hard and difficult for us to imprint onto. So if you were requesting for the vendor to, for instance, put our logo on a pen, they would have had issues, and there would be smudging or illegibility with our logo. So to get away from that, we increased the bolding around our font and just all around updated the colors to be palatable on the eyes. We should never use F or G. These are outdated logos. This isn't oh, well, you can use it, it's cute. This is us in the past. We are now using the B and the H. So please update anything that you see. If it's a letterhead, if it's a document that has the old logo, please do our agency a service and update that logo to the new Crystal Stairs navy blue logo. Lastly, with I, the Crystal Stairs have been removed from the stairs symbol, and then J, the logo is red. We do not imprint, we don't change the color of our logo. It should either be a navy blue, black, or white. That is it. So for those of you who do not know, our Crystal Stairs logo is a symbol of the individual and collective mission to protect childcare for working families and unwavering belief in social justice. The whole ideology of Crystal Stairs was built on a poem from Langston Hughes, From Mother to Son. And the song is called From Mother to Son. The idea of the poem is that life for this mother has not been easy. She says, life for me has been no crystal stairs. It was difficult. There were nails in her stairs, creaky boards, right? And the idea is that there is a crystal stairs. There is a better pathway for her child to travel, where their feet won't be burnt, won't fall through the cracks, right? And so that is our ideology. That is the symbol of Crystal Stairs. And it's very important that you understand that, so that when you're thinking of using our logo, it's not just slapping on whatever logo is easiest to use. This is the ideology of the embetterment of our families and of our communities, because they haven't been treated well, because they've been marginalized. And so we want to provide a better pathway through our services and our programs. So we want to make sure that we're respecting our logo, and we can respect it by respecting the space around it. Those of you will often be working with other agencies like DPSS or with the Bridge Child Care Alliance. So you want to make sure that when you're using our logo in tandem with another logo, that you're respecting the area. There should be a good width of space between our logo and someone else's logo, about 1/4 of an inch space between them. Keep in mind that our logo can't really decrease in size more than 5 millimeters in height. Anything more than that, which is pretty much this pen right here, probably can't really see that at all, but anything smaller than this pen, it will not print. And most pen options just do not have the font imprint area to use our logo. What we do is we end up using the font logo. We have Crystal Stairs Inc. spelled out in a font image that you can use, and it's that font just in a horizontal line. We would use that in that case. So we went over these are the do nots and the logo misuses. Again, we retired the old pale blue logo. We traded that for our new vibrant navy blue. These are important to note. So how are you using our Crystal Stairs logo? It's important to note, especially for those of you who do procurement for items, right? Your branding, you want some swag for an event. Make sure that what you're looking at is including the right amount of imprint area, imprint colors. Our Crystal Stairs logo is actually 2 colors. It is not just navy blue. There's white inside those stairs. We do not want to see a navy blue logo that's transparent inside, where you can see the gray of an item or the orange of an item. We shouldn't see that. All right, we want to see white inside those logos. When you're imprinting on certain items, it may be white. So for instance, for this, this is a white mug. You'll only need a one imprint color logo because navy blue, the white will show through, right? But if this cup was orange, you would need to request a 2 imprint color logo. So just keep that in mind for those of you who do that type of work. It may increase the costs, and that sucks if you ask for only one or you're going through the rush process. And a lot of times, again, the rush order purchases are not really great to use because they'll usually only give you one imprint, and then you'll do all this purchase work. You'll send the approval over to me and I'll say, why are you using the black logo or the white logo? We don't use that for this. Or can we please use the navy blue logo? So it's not to say that we can never use a white or a black logo, but these are supposed to be secondary to the navy blue. We should always be using the navy blue logo. How many times have any of you ever seen a white McDonald's? Barely, right? You're usually going to see a yellow McDonald's with red around it. Now, maybe on a t-shirt, they might have one that's white for a certain thing. Maybe it's a higher level and they would just want it to have a clean, it's on a black shirt and they want it to be white, right? But that's going to be an occasion. So, and there are occasions for having a white logo or a black logo, but for most intents and purposes, we want to be using that navy blue. Just want to kind of reinforce that. And that goes with all of our logos. All of our logos should be incorporating all of the colors. We should not be putting in a ton of requests for white versions of our logos unless it's absolutely needed to be in white or black. You can find our logos in the shared drive. For those of you who do not know where that is, I'll show you right here. You should see on your, what do they call it on PC, a file explorer. If you click on the shared drive, it's literally, I think 6 down CSI logos. Open up that file folder and you'll see every single department listed here with their logo. If you click on CSI logos, you'll have more file types. You can either use image, PDF, or vector. How many of you here know what a vector file is? Ah, Alejandro knows, yay. So how many of you know what resolution is? Anyone have a 4K TV? Yeah. So a resolution is a finite amount of pixels. So images are pixels. If I have a 90 by 90 pixel image, right, that means that's all there is there. Anything, if I stretch that out larger, right, to scale to my monitor, which might be a 1080p monitor, it's 1080 pixels, it's going to be very, very blurry. So that's how images work. Vectors do not use pixels. It's scalable to any degree. So I can go grab a vector image here, and I'll actually just do this for you right now because I think it's really cool. It's going to take a second, but the idea of a vector file is that you can put a vector file on anything and it will scale in size. So it could be 1,000,000 pixels wide and 1,000,000 pixels tall, and you're not going to see any type of issue when you zoom in or zoom out or imprinting it on that. So we'll see right here. It's not responding. Oh, okay, there we go. So you see on this logo here. Oh, is it really going to do this to me? All right, well, I won't be able to show you because I have to log into my account. But essentially, you can just keep zooming in on this logo and you'll never see any type of resolution, pixelation. So really great when you're working with vendors, not only give them the PNG file, the image file, but give them the vector because that just gives them more options if they need it. And then PDF here. This is a high resolution PDF. Again, this does have pixelation on it. but it's really high in resolution, so you can get pretty close without seeing much deterioration in the image. All right, so back to the presentation here. Now you guys know where the logos are. Do not use a logo anywhere else. And again, the reason for this is that I update these logos, or if I updated these logos, you would have the access to the most updated version. If you save it to your own computer for easy use, what will happen is that inevitably there'll be an update or something will happen and now your logo is out of date. So just instead favorite that file folder so that it's at the top of your file explorer. That way you can just go into that file and grab it whenever you need it, rather than saving the image file directly to your computer. All right, so let's talk a little bit about color. So colors can influence our behaviors, they influence our mood. I'm sure many of you have heard the reason why McDonald's is red is because red makes you hungry, right? They interact with our perception. We can perceive them differently depending on our gender and our culture. They influence how we shop, right? The color plays a big role in our lives, and oftentimes we don't even realize it. The reason we're talking about color is because it increases our recognition. When people see our color alone, they will identify us based off that color. Don't believe me? Then what comes to mind when you see this? Like seriously, everyone just in the chat, what comes to mind? What's the first thing? I bet that what you say will be two icons that come up. Got McDonald's, USC, MC,
Lay's, Frito-Lay.
Yep, yep. A lot of McDonald's. Oh, I'm hungry. Burger King, mustard, ketchup. Yeah, yeah. That's what I had. I had McDonald's and Lay's. How about this one? I've got a couple of challenges for you guys. How about this one? Can anyone guess this? I was surprised no one from the first session was able to guess this one.
Google.
You got Google. Any other guesses? Lifesavers. I like that. Yep, Google. And it's not to say that you're wrong. The lifesavers use these colors too. How about this one? I know many of you, this is how you start your day. Yep, Lashana. That ice shaken oat milk latte. Starbucks. So let me show you something a little bit disturbing. Anyone find this bizarre? That just does not look right to me. What about this? Looking over to the right, a blue UPS truck, purple Home Depot, magenta Starbucks. I actually get a very grossed out feeling when I see this yellow can of Coca-Cola. Like there's this visceral response when we see something that we've seen before, but it's not in the same color that we're used to identifying it by, right? It's awkward and it's disturbing because we've been so used to seeing these brands under a certain color, and we recognize them, right? And so that illustrates a little bit of the importance of brand and how we associate with brands without even seeing their logo or seeing a product from them. So for us here at Crystal Stairs, our primary palette is going to be that navy blue and the Crystal Stairs orange. These are the colors that we want as the main color accents. That's not to say that we can't ever use any other colors, but they should be working around mostly navy blue and orange. And then we have secondary colors that can accent those primary colors. However, for those of you in Head Start, it's going to be the other way around. Head Start primary colors are going to be these lower colors. So this would be primary for you. We got these colors from the work we did on the most recent enrollment flyer and on the update to their 10-year logo. And as we work out an update to the Head Start logo, we're going to be using these colors to build upon that. So please, update your branding guides. Again, I'll be providing this to you guys in a PDF so that you can refer to this. The first part is called a hex code. Hex codes are used to for digital identification. So this is the digital code for this color. But what you see digitally is not necessarily how things will print. So printers use what's called a Pantone color. So that will be the 53 coded or the 282 uncoded. So you'll work with the vendor on something that's going to be printed. They may tell you that it will be a coded Pantone or a uncoded. So you have those options there for everything. So image, let's talk a little bit about photos. We have some beautiful photography of our classrooms, of our families, of our providers, and we want to respect that. There's nothing more fake and obvious than seeing flyers and advertising of agencies that use stock photos, because that's not the people that they're serving. All the fake smiles and the fresh clothes that's distributed to the models, it's not what is accurate to the actual services that are being provided. But when we use photography well, it does these three things. It tells a meaningful story, right? That's real and true. You can see it. Those are real faces, real smiles, real children. It highlights our programs and how our audience fits into it with their race, their diversity. It connects to our diverse audience of South Los Angeles. And so we want to make sure that we're using these photos with a thoughtful level of integration into our media, into our branding, so that we're depicting our audience. If you need access to photos, you can access those photos via this link right here. It's constantly going to be updated with new photos that we refine. You might want to even bookmark this on your Google, so that, if you ever need to grab something for a flyer, for an email, you have access to approved photos that we've taken in the past. And another note here is that we want to make sure that who is in the photo relates to who we are serving. Not to say that we do not serve white Caucasian children. We do, but not predominantly Caucasian children. So we shouldn't have a photo depicting our services with all white children, because it's not our demographic. If there was a white children here and amongst a diversity of kids, then yes, but we don't want a lack of diversity in our photos. Also with clip art, we just want to be careful. We have moved away from using like these clippy, stocky art. You want to be using more shapes and art features than actual clip art. We want to be focusing more on our actual photos of children. So try using that over like stock art. If you do end up using stock art, make sure that it's from our Canva account. For those of you here, we do have Canva for business. So each department should have a Canva account. You should be able to access that and create flyers or presentations for whatever you need. You can download stock art from there, or stock photos. Just make sure they're not stock photos of our audience. And with, let me actually talk about that for a second with stock art. Stock art stock photos are okay if it's not person-centric. So those stock arts that are like question, or their services, so it's a bunch of books or whatever, that's okay to use. But when it's depicting people, we want to make sure that it's our photos of our people. So again, you can use Canva for that. The reason is a lot of these photos are copyrighted. Never go to Bing or go to Google and download photos, because that's illegal. Someone owns those photos, and you can get us in trouble if you use that on things that you send out. And lastly here is that when we use photos, make sure that if you're cropping it to, show this cute little girl here, you don't cut off mom's head. Be aware of people that are in the photos. We don't want to be cutting off arms or faces, especially faces. So, and lastly, here's the Cynthia St. James artwork. We just recently, maybe 8 months ago, put this up on our front desk lobby. It's beautiful artwork that we commissioned back in, I think it was commissioned in like 2012. It's a really excellent depiction of our community, and we only use it for really high-end executive things. So please do not use this artwork for anything. You actually need written authorization to use it for any type of branding. So that is that. Let's talk a little bit about item procurement and branding. And how am I doing on time? All right, halfway through. This is perfect. I'm gonna drink a little bit of water, and I will take questions at the end. So if you do have any questions, please write them down. I'll answer them at the end. So for many of you, you are assisting your supervisors in finding swag items. They'll say, ooh, I like this pen, or ooh, I like this little doohickey. Let's get it. These 4 things will really enhance and help your procurement so that you can get the item that you want or that you need and still adhere to our branding guidelines. So please keep in mind the audience, the purpose, the quality and life expectancy of the item, and the logo imprint color and size. And when you communicate to us, so you will, when you need the approval of a branding item, everyone here should know that you have to go through the external affairs review and request form, right? We've all filled it out before. You'll select the review, and I'll go through doing that. But when you fill that out, make sure that you describe these things: the audience, the purpose, the quality, and the logo imprint. And so let's dive into that. Audience, what do I mean, Isaac? When you're getting an item, try to understand who the audience is for, right? Is it for staff? Is it for teachers? Is it for children? An item may not work well for children, right? A child of 5 years old is not going to be using a power brick or a work planner, right? It doesn't fit the demographic for us to give those, but that would work for parents, right? That makes sense. What we would get for staff might be different than what we would get for our children. So keep in mind who that item is for. What value does this item give an audience? How many of you have gone to conferences before? Right? Conventions, conferences, right? And every table has swag and stuff, and you get your little tote bag and you start just throwing everything in there, right? But as soon as you get home, I bet most of you throw out about 90% of all the swag you get. And only like 2 things will make the cut. And usually it's like the coolest things that you pick up from that conference. It's like a Swiss Army knife / pencil / pen holder / coffee cup. It's, and the reason that you keep it is because it's useful, right? It gives you value and it connects with you on some level because it was thoughtful. Right. And so we want to be thoughtful. There's nothing worse than just spending a bunch of money to get stuff for an event and then it just goes straight in the trash. What a waste of money. It'd be better to spend the same amount of money on one item that they'll keep than 10 items that they're not. So next we want to talk about purpose, right? Is this a marketing item or a gift? And it's helpful when you're putting in your requests for us to review the branding on an item to understand, is this a gift for someone? So like, for instance, a bag. We've done like leather briefcase bags for our CV members, for our cohort audience of members. We have a large member base, and then we have our ambassadors, right? This is a cohort of people that give us their time, and they do work for us. So we appreciate the work that they're doing. So we're giving them an item that costs a lot, but we want to make sure that it's nice for them, right? They're going to keep that and use that for the work that they're doing with us. And that's a gift. That's not, and it's going to have our marketing a logo on it, but it's really a gift, right? And so we want to be thinking about that. Does the item connect with what services we're doing? These coasters, right? I can't really find and identify why we would purchase a coaster. I mean, we could, right? We could smack our logo on there, our Head Start logo, but does it fit with what they would use it for? Maybe, maybe not. But think about that before you put in the request for it. And does the item reflect our values or mission? Quality and life expectancy. So I talked about it a bit before. Swag items get thrown out more than not. So please look at the item's quality, make sure that it's something worth the money that we're spending. A lot of times too, I know you guys are rushing. It's, you know, the 9th hour and we need to, you know, get a bunch of stuff on time because we have 3 days till the event. So you go straight to the rush, and everything in the rush order is crappy items that they can print in like 1 day. So that's not an effective way of doing purchase requisitions and procuring your items. It's just providing crap. So we want to be thoughtful. This item right here, this started off as just a flat one color toned notebook, but we found out, right, by me asking questions, that this entire front panel could be designed. So after receiving the request, I asked about that because I saw that in there, and then we started a design for the planner. And now look at it. Look at the memorabilia, the feel of it. It looks like something that you would keep rather than something that, oh, great, straight in the trash, or oh, it just has our logo on it, straight in the trash, right? This is something that's nice, something that they can keep for a long time. And lastly, and this is probably the most important thing I can talk about to all of you, is please check the imprint color. Our logos have multiple colors. The Head Start logo has about, I think it's 6 or 5 colors on that logo. So you need to be reaching out to the vendor, and sometimes it helps just asking the vendor directly, hey, our logo has this many colors and this is how big it is. Can you recommend items that can fit with our logo and the amount of colors that we have? And then they'll give you a range of similar items that you're looking for, rather than going for the, you know, one specific item and then find out that it only has one imprint color. So with this item, it was able to imprint on with multiple colors. So we were able to change it from white to the full Crystal Stairs logo. It looks beautiful. So a little bit on the style guide. So here we have the typeface family. Again, I'm just going to really quickly brush through most of this. You know, when we're referring to Crystal Stairs, it should be Crystal Stairs Inc. And then after you've expressed the full name of the organization, then you can say Crystal Stairs, or you can do Crystal Stairs parentheses CSI, and then later in the body of the email or whatever you're doing, referring to Crystal Stairs as CSI in short writing. Just keep in mind how you do capitalizing on titles and headings. Make sure that your emails are set to either Century Gothic, Calibri, or Arial. It should be automatically set there. However, sometimes we've seen people change their Outlook to be fancy font and to be purple and to have sprinkles on it, and that is not Crystal Stairs approved. We all want to have one look, one feel, and so make sure that you're in line. Shouldn't be any less than 11 points and more than 14. Here are some document guidelines. Just, you know, how do we write numbers? We always use the number. You spell out 1 through 10, and then beyond that you use the numerals. This is how you do figures. Telephone number, you can use the full number or the kids shortened. Make sure too with translation, again, most of you are working with Spanish audience, so we do not have a Spanish translator here in External Affairs, so it is incumbent that if you need your materials in Spanish, that you do so and provide that to us so that we can meet your needs. And again, for most of you, some of that is a requirement from the grant that you're receiving. So make sure that you're falling within the guidelines of your grant. Lastly, some correct legal guidelines when using the Head Start or Crystal Stairs, trademark symbols. I'm not going to go fully into this. You guys can take a look at this after. Lastly, just look at the email signature here. Your email signature should look like either the above, or if you're in Head Start, right over here. If it does not look anything like this, then you need to update your signature line. So I have I'll be providing a link to that will show you how to update your signature. There's also a Word document that you can directly go and just copy and paste the template into your Outlook and update everything. So please do that after this training if yours does not look like that. All right, so let's dive into the communication. So this is my favorite part. All right, so communications formats and platforms. So I like to stress this every time that flyers are for physical distribution. They are not for emailing or digital distribution. Yes, we can attach a flyer to the PDF, but what is the point of having a flyer on a on an email when all of the information is there? The only reason that you would want to attach a PDF to an email is for them to send it to someone else. But if the goal is to give a parent information about an event, just email them. It's the same thing for them to forward it to a friend. You waste a lot of time in the development of a flyer and the creation of the graphics and going back and forth on approving it and getting everything you need. And then if your only means of using that flyer is digitally adding it to an email, that's just wasted time. Because again, put yourself in the shoes of the person who's receiving it. If you receive an email on your phone, are you going to click on that attachment? Or are you going to just read the first 2 paragraphs of that email? Probably you're going to just read the first 2 paragraphs of that email. So that's why it's important that in your communications, you think about these things as you're strategizing and you're thinking about, all right, we have an event coming up, or we have an initiative, we got to increase enrollment. So let's do, I want to work with external affairs to do an email, to do a social media post, and let's do a direct through text. We want to text people. We have their phone numbers, right? If you don't plan to physically provide flyers at a location for people to pick up, it's just a wasted effort that we're spending. And also with QR codes, again, keep in mind, QR codes are meant for physical things. If I put a QR code on an email and you, again, get that email on your phone, how are you supposed to scan that? I'd have to have another phone. And Crystal Stairs doesn't pay for me to have a work phone. So, I'd have to, print it out and then scan it. It just doesn't work. So QR codes are for physical distribution as well. So take that in mind. So we'll do a flyer if you're planning to physically distribute the flyer. We'll put a QR code on that for you. I also want to keep in mind short URLs. If you're doing a flyer, no one is going to write Zoom/123QX5 in their URL. They're going to be like, yeah, good luck. It's a hassle. So use short URLs to update your links. And then, we want to put quick information on your flyer. When we're doing emails, right, that's for digital distribution. It requires a more conversational and informative tone. We try to engage and excite them. It's going to have a little bit more information than a flyer would have, but we don't want to inundate them with, a dissertation on whatever it is we're doing. Social media is, again, quick information. It's to engage them. It's to provide them with an easy pathway to whatever we're trying to get them to go. So getting them to click on a link, getting them to click on a registration, getting them to call us, right? We want to just be really quick with the information because we have the attention span of around like 5 seconds for someone to look at that graphic and say yes or no, and then they're on to the next. So that's social media through text. is for direct contact. We get your phone numbers. We can assign a campaign. When requesting a through text, your department would be in charge of sending it out. So I create the through text campaign for you, and then for whoever is able to send out the individual texts, I create a through text account for that person, and then it works just like a messenger window. You automatically get a message that was pre-written from whatever you wanted the message to be, and you just press the enter button for as many contacts as you have. Website, that's for lots of information. It's the repository for all of the requirements or the guidelines for whatever your programs are. So when we update website information, if you want people who are receiving social media to go to the website, you want to think in terms of stacking information in that way. And then finally, mail, right? It's for direct contact, providing resources, relevant information to your constituents in a physical way. So I want to just put this out here, is that social media marketing is one of the most it's a growing platform that continues to dominate over every kind of advertising avenue. It's very effective in reaching your audience. A lot of your audience is on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and almost no one uses it. We generally, external affairs has been creating content for most of the program areas, but we don't really see any program areas asking for us to do any type of promoting of individual programs or events or stuff like that. And it's a missed opportunity because people see our stuff. We have I think we have over 2,000 followers on Facebook. We'll almost have 2,000 followers on Instagram, and around 1,500 followers on Twitter. Those are our audience. Those are our people, and they're ready to see our content. They're ready to hear about your event, but we can't post if we don't know about anything. So please use those means as a way to reach out to your constituents. And just as this is paid advertising. We did an experiment back in May. We ran a campaign just to talk about the gender wage gap and the racial gap in pay wage. And we set it to a budget of about $900. Only about 500 was used, but we were able to reach over 100,000 people. And we were able to engage with about 4,000. And engagements means that they commented, they liked it, they actually like touched the content and had a discussion with us. That's great. Like, that's direct interaction with our constituents. And that was just a small campaign about a controversial topic. Imagine the impact of your enrollment, or for an event that you're promoting, right? So we could easily do this for your programs, but we need that kind of cooperation and initiative from you to put together the message. Because as we say, we can make stuff look good, but you guys are the content experts. We don't know your program. We don't know your purposes to how you run things. We have an idea of how things are ran in child care subsidy and Head Start, but we don't know the ins and outs. You guys know your audience, and so it's a collaborative process for us to work together to put together advertising and communications. This is just a really cool example of how we turned a flyer into an email, right? So we took this content and we just made it into a more conversational tone. And so we want to make sure that when we're requesting things, that we're doing our part, right? We want to see this kind of level of excitement, and conversational tone. So let's talk about the EA request form a little bit right now. Let me go here. So to get there, you should, okay, so I'm gonna have to increase my speed. I slowed down a little bit. So we can get to the external affairs request form on the external affairs agency site. If you go to the main SharePoint site, click all agency sites, you should be able to scroll down to external affairs. So you'll go to our page and you'll see the EA request form right here. And also, for those of you guys who were looking, you can find our branding and communications marketing documents in here. The official letterhead, our all service infographic, and the brand guidelines have been updated right here, along with the signature guide. I'll send this to you guys as well in an email, but just wanted to show you that while I'm here. But yeah, so you click on the EA request form and you can fill out this form to request one of these 3 services. You're either asking us to create something, give us 3 weeks in advance notice, right? Because we can't just poof make something appear in thin air. It takes time to create a design, to go back and forth with your supervisor and make sure it fits your needs. We can review and approve your branding. It takes about 3 days to fulfill this, so make sure you're putting this in advance. Now, I'm not saying that it takes 3 days to look at a logo item and say it's approved. It doesn't. But the reason why we ask for 3 days is because a lot of times there are issues. And so if you need something to be done in 1 day and there's an issue with it, guess what? It's not going to get approved today. So that's why we ask you to think in advance, get us those requests in advance so that we can go back and forth. You know, maybe it's an item that you're spending a lot of money on that has the opportunity, kind of like the I showed you guys on this. Let me scroll back to it. Yeah, this one right here. You know, this little workbook is a great example. This was a simple item that, you know, just had the Crystal Stairs logo or the Head Start logo on it. I asked some questions about it. We were spending a lot of money for this planner, and it had multiple. It had a full range customizable cover. So then I was like, well, if we can customize the full cover, then let's get, you know, creative. So we created this. We went back and forth in design and came up with something that was great. Yeah, that couldn't be done in 1 day. That had to be a process of asking some questions and seeing what worked best to make that work. Yeah, use the EA request form for creation requests, the approval, branding, and then if you're asking, the third one would be communications assistance. You're asking us to create an email, to send out some text messages, to put together a social media post, or to update the website. So please, everyone should have access to the Canva, as I mentioned before. If you do not have access to the Canva, talk to your supervisor. You should. We have accounts for each program area. They are shared accounts. So Head Start has their own account. Family Services has their own account. So you should be able to access that and be able to, you know, use that for flyer stuff. The idea is that, you know, if EA was responsible for creating every single thing, we would not be able to get anything else done in the day. So there are some things that you guys will be able to create and be able to take care of yourself. If it's a flyer for an event that only, let's say, 20 people are going to be a part of because it's a small little thing, right? I don't need to create that from scratch. You guys can. If it's an organizational flyer that's going to be used to describe our programs and be distributed to, you know, thousands of people, then EA needs to create that. You understand, like, kind of the difference there is that, like, one thing is for a small audience, right? You guys can take charge and create that, and then you can send us the link to Canva, and then we can look at it in the approval of it, and then we can make edits. But if something's going out to thousands of people, then get EA involved and we can create something for you. This is just kind of a look of what approvals look like here. You can see here too that the Crystal Stairs logo is wrong. The font is a little bit off there. It's the small characters here. The Crystal Stairs have been removed. So I see that a lot. And again, it's white. I'll be asking these people, why aren't we using the navy blue logo? I would much rather this be a different color, like orange or our light blue or something else, and then put our actual colored logo on it rather than the white. So I'll be having those conversations with your staff. So lastly, you know, communications requests, that's asking us for email support, social media, stuff like that. Just make sure that when you're doing a email request, so like MailChimp, I need your Excel list of individuals and make sure that you clean it up. We don't want to put PPI on MailChimp. So I don't want to put people's addresses and information. A lot of times you're exporting this from like CC3 or from whatever database you guys use to, keep track of your constituents. And we don't need that information. We don't want to track that on other platforms. So please clean your list so that it's just first name, last name, and then the email address or the phone number. Make sure that your emails are full. So give us a bit of information. It should be conversational in tone. It should be informative. We need more to go off of than just the bare information. So try to give us more to work with. Again, we're not the content experts. You guys are. We'll edit it and increase maybe some of the information there. But we need more information than just the bare bone details. And I'm going to move through this so that we can get to the end. Just last note is that the website is currently at a it's very difficult at the moment to update the website. It's very clunky and is not operating at the fullest capacity. We are updating and redesigning the website, and we plan to have that finished by August. And in that time, we'll be able to make updates easily. We can do pages and do a lot of really, really cool things. But at the time that we are in right now, we aren't able to make many updates to the website. So unless you have something that is critical to update to the website, we will be declining most website updates. Lastly, please add us on, follow us on social media. It's really good, especially for those of you who are in different programs, to see what other programs are doing, to see our Head Start enrollment posts or our childcare subsidy posts, to see how we post about community voices when we do an event or AAPN at an event. It's very cool, and to see just the feedback that we get from the audience that follows us, and it may inspire you for when you're doing an event to let us know so that we can post your photos from your event to social media. Through text, this is what through text looks like. I talked about it being kind of like a messenger window. So if you're sending out text, this first little message right here, the hi Harrison, blah, 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 that's going to be in that start typing here little box. And literally you just hit enter and it will send it out to Harrison. And then it will go to the next person, and you literally are just hitting the enter button for as many contacts as you have. So the sender job's pretty easily. The best part about through text, though, and it's not really utilized that much, is that it's a person-to-person field. It's not just sending out the message, it's interacting with them. So not only can you send the message to them, but they can reply back. You can interact with them. You can ask them questions, do a little bit of a survey. So it's very hands-on. And just to conclude, we want to be very strategic with how we do things. It's a waste of time to do all of these things just because, or to wait to the last minute, to wait to 3 days before the event to decide, oh, we should probably post to social media, or we should probably send out an email. Like, in the early stages of talking to your supervisors or working with your staff about events, bring up the topic of communications. What do we think would be helpful? Do we need to bring EA into the meeting to talk about planning for this? Because we can help you guys. We can talk about, all right, when is the event? How long do we have? We should send if we're 3 weeks out from the event, let's send an email each week on the Monday or on the Tuesday. We can track the registration so that we can decide whether or not we need to do it through text or stuff. We can be partners to you rather than just doing stuff because we need to do something because the enrollment's bad or the registration's really low, right? So it's just very important for us to be thoughtful, really. Being unstrategic is just doing things by the seat of our pants, getting out social media posts just because, we want to post it out and see what happens, right? So help us help you guys reach your goals, interact with your constituents. We're your partners here, we're your teammates, and we want to see you successful. So